Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier sessions, we discussed about the concept of demand, what is the meaning of demand, and what are the main ingredients for a demand to be defined and expressed, and what are the determinants of demand, what factors will influence the demand. That also we discussed in the earlier sessions. Very important aspect of the determinants of demand has been discussed there. Of course, there are many factors which will be also influencing the demand, but we may not be able to really quantify them. Just we can know that they are also the influencers of demand. And after that, we discussed about demand function, which is nothing but an expression of the same discussion, which is influencers of demand. What factors will determine the demand? In other words, the independent variable of demand is dependent on what variables can be expressed mathematically by demand function. And then the crux of this chapter, the law of demand, has been discussed, wherein we understood that as the price of any commodity decreases, the demand for such commodity increases, and vice versa. If the same is expressed as a table, we call that demand schedule, and if the same is expressed as a graph, we call that demand curve. This can be for a particular commodity also. The same way the demand schedule and demand graph can be, or a demand curve can be interpreted and can be demonstrated for a market level also. So there can be an individual demand schedule, market demand schedule. There can be an individual demand curve or a market demand curve. But the essence is same, the tendency is same. That is not going to be different, whether it is for a particular product or for the entire market. The law of demand works same way. But the question naturally comes, why does the law of demand really work? What is the logic behind the law of demand? What is the rationale of the law of demand? What kind of factors will prove that the law of demand works? That aspect we discussed, another important technical aspect. And then we also discussed about the exceptions to the law of demand, wherein under various circumstances the law of demand does not work. What are those areas where the law of demand does not work? In other words, in all the cases of these goods, when the price rises, the demand or quantity demanded falls, or vice versa, might not happen. It may happen to conspicuous goods, given goods, conspicuous necessities, and expectation of a price increase or decrease in the future might not be following the law of demand. Same way, irrational consumers sometimes may say that the law of demand is invalid. They may invalidate the law of demand. And necessaries also will not follow the law of demand in general. Speculative goods also may not follow the law of demand. So there are always certain exceptions to the law of demand, which we also already discussed. Then we talked about and we understood the expansion and contraction of demand, very important aspect. When we call this word quantity demanded, when we express this change as a result of a change in price, then we use the word quantity demanded. Then only we use these words expansion and contraction of demand, which happen on the line, on the demand curve. When can we say increase or decrease in demand? This will happen when the demand changes due to any factor other than price. Other than price, that could be any factor. It could be income, it could be taste and preferences, it could be prices of related goods, or any other factor, advertisement expenditure, national income, population, any factor, whatever the factor may be. According to a change in that factor, if the demand changes, it can only have two options. Naturally, it can increase or decrease. So in that case, we use these words increase or decrease in demand. When we use the word quantity demanded, we are referring to change in the quantity demanded due to a change in price. Then that change is expressed as either expansion of demand or contraction of demand. And when we look at the factors other than price, then what we are talking about is not the word quantity demanded, we use the word demand. So change in any of these factors will create a change in demand, and when there is a change in demand, we call that increase and decrease in demand, not expansion and contraction. So expansion contraction happens on the line, increase or decrease happens either shifting the demand curve rightwards or leftwards. Both ways it is possible. Of course, if there is a rightward shift in the demand curve, that means the demand has increased. If there is a leftward shift in the demand curve, that means the demand curve has decreased. It means the demand for that product has decreased. And why this rightward and leftward changes in the demand curve will happen? Is it because of change in price? No, sir. They are not happening because of change in price. They could happen because of any factor other than price. Price is going to be same in case there is a shift in the demand curve. So always have to understand expansion contraction is different, which happens on the line. Increase or decrease is different, which happens either above the line or below the line. Above we can call it rightwards, below we can call it leftwards. So that is how the change in the demand and change in the quantity demanded might happen. The same things are expressed like this once again. Movements along the demand curve means expansion or contraction of demand. In other words, change in quantity demanded happening due to a change in price. Shift of demand curve means demand curve shifting rightwards or leftwards, which means there is a change in demand due to any factor changing other than price. So that is the difference between these things we have discussed in the earlier classes. Very important concepts to be understood and remembered in terms of the terminology whatever we use, particularly the words expansion contraction, increase decrease, demand quantity demanded. Each of them are used in particular circumstances. You cannot use them interchangeably because they are looking similar. You cannot interchangeably use demand and quantity demanded. That will be contextually wrong. You cannot interchangeably use expansion or increase. No, both are not same. You cannot interchangeably use decrease or contraction. No, both are not interchangeably same. Because they are depicting different contexts. Under what context which word is used, you have to be 100% thorough with. Now moving on to the next very important aspect of this chapter, where even certain numerical questions can also be asked sometimes, is elasticity of demand. So far, we have been talking about the direction of the changes in the prices and quantities demanded. So far, we are only talking about direction. We were not really bothered about the extent of the relationship, or we can say the degree of responsiveness. That we did not touch so far. Direction only we are talking. What are we talking? Okay, we always been talking about the law of demand, sir. When the price of a commodity increases, the demand or quantity demanded, particularly speaking, for that commodity decreases. We know that. But is it happening in the same way, or is it going to happen in a different way? In other words, price of a commodity, let us say, just for understanding purposes, increased by 10%, and quantity demanded decreased by, let us say, only 2%. Just for example, we are taking this. If at all this what happened, price of a product increased by 10%, but quantity demanded decreased by only 2%. This is quantity demanded we are talking. So if the quantity demanded is decreased by only 2%, when the price of the product is increased by 10%, this is what happened, let us say, as an example. So what can we say here? Is this product highly elastic to price, or relatively it is inelastic, or is it going to be not elastic at all? So what is the nature of this product? Some cases this response may be very strong. Some cases this response may be very weak. In this particular case, though there is a change of 10% in the price, the change in the demand is only 2%. That means the responsiveness is low. And that responsiveness is what we call as elasticity of demand. Direction is common. If you say, here also, let us say another product is there where the price increases by 1%, whereas the quantity demanded price only increases by 1%, whereas the quantity demanded decreases by, let us say, 10%. Just for once again example purposes. Quantity demanded decreases by 10% with just increase of 1% increase in price. So can we say this is also equally elastic like the earlier product? No, this is more elastic. Why? For a meager 1% increase in prices, we are talking about a 10% decrease in demand. For a small increase in price, for a small change, let us say, in the price, the quantity demanded decreased drastically. That means the responsiveness of this product is high when it's a quantity demanded is compared with the price. So these two products, if we compare, first product, we can say the responsiveness is there, but it is less responsive. The second product responsiveness is high. So naturally what we can say, first product elasticity of demand is low and second product elasticity of demand is high. That's what elasticity of demand means. But if you observe one common point between both the scenarios, the direction has not changed. The direction is same. So there is no doubt that when the price increases, quantity demanded decreases. No doubt in that. Or when the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. This is direction only. We are only talking about direction. But the point is, how much price is increasing or decreasing, as a result of that increase or decrease, how much demand is decreasing or increasing, or how much quantity demanded is decreasing or increasing, according to an increase or decrease in price, how much is the relative change in the quantity demanded when compared with the change in the price is what is called as elasticity of demand. We are not here talking about the direction. We are talking about the, I would say, strength of the responsiveness, we can call it, or in other words, a correlation, simply speaking. How strongly the quantity demanded is correlated to price. How strongly the quantity demanded is related to price. How strongly the change in the quantity demanded is going to be impacted by the change in the price. That's what is basically elasticity of demand. So it does not look at the direction, rather it looks about the responsiveness of a particular product's demand due to changes in any of the determinants. See, this is one example only we have taken. So if we take price and quantity demanded, we call it price elasticity of demand. So when we say price elasticity of demand, it means how the price is having an impact on demand. If we call income elasticity of demand, then how income of the consumers will have impact on demand. If you can take advertisement elasticity, that means how advertisement expenditure will have impact on demand. Like that, we have many determinants of demand, which we already know. There are many determinants of demand. Of course, the demand is influenced by each and every determinant, no doubt about it. And we can easily identify the direction of the impact of demand also quite normally, just logically, for each of the determinants. One by one, let us say, for example, if the price of the product increases, quantity demanded decreases. So that means the relationship between these two is inverse relationship. What about income of the consumers? Income of the products, income of the consumers increases, then quantity demanded increases. Income of the consumers decreases, quantity demanded also decreases. That means there is a direct relationship between income of the consumers and the quantity demanded, or demand, we can say. So like that, for every product, advertisement expenditure, generally how it will have an impact. More the advertisement expenditure, more will be the demand. Means once again there might be a direct relationship. Population, how can there be an impact? Population increase, generally demand also can increase. So the point is, there are so many determinants, no doubt about it, and all the determinants have impact on demand, no doubt about it. But the question comes, can we quantify all those determinants? Generally not possible. That is why, when can we say we can measure the responsiveness of the demand due to a change in its determinant? When we can actually quantify it. In other words, we can measure that change. If we can measure it, then what is that measurement called as? That is elasticity of demand. So simply speaking, what is elasticity of demand can be summarized by how much does a demand change due to a change in price, or change in income, or change in advertisement expenditure, like that. Any factor. So this price here can be replaced by any factor. Question is say, by how much does the demand change due to a change in dash? That dash could be any of the determinants which are influencing the demand. If the determinant is price, we call that price elasticity of demand. If that determinant is income, we call that income elasticity of demand, or any other elasticity of demand, wherever the price of the substitute, for example, price of a complementary commodity, for example, all of them are quantifiable. So all of them can be substituted in the place of price here. So this can be left vacant Here anything can be replaced in the place of price. It could be income of the consumers, or it can be the prices of related commodities. Prices of related commodities can be there, which are like either substitutes or complementary commodities, or it can be like, for example, advertisement expenditure, quite possible. So anything, this determinants of demand could be anything. It could be price also, income also, or advertisement expenditure also, or the prices of related commodities also. Either way, in all the cases, what is the impact of those things on the demand is what is measured by elasticity of demand. That is why the answer to this question, by how much does demand change due to a change in dash, that's what is elasticity of demand. If that is price, it is price elasticity. Income, income elasticity, like that. If it is prices of the related commodities, that is called cross elasticity of demand. Like that, any elasticity of demand is measurable. This is a quantitative measurement, a quantitative expression. Elasticity of demand is not about only direction. Direction, we don't need elasticity. For the direction, we have a law of demand already. Actually, we know the directions of each of these factors already. So it's not a point of direction anymore. Now we have to measure the strength of the relationship between demand and various determinants which are going to influence the demand. That is what is elasticity of demand, right? There are some examples which are given here. We can just generally go through them, which of course we can find out the elasticity of demand using different techniques later. One by one we'll do that. But just have a look at the examples for general understanding. Let us say, first example, as a result of a fall in the price of radio from 500 rupees to 400 rupees, that means there is a decrease in the price of radios. That is clear. There is a decrease in the price of radios from 500 rupees to 400 rupees. Then what happened as a result of that? The quantity demanded increases from 150 to 100 to 150 radios, means the quantity demanded increased. Of course, this direction there is no problem. Always there is going to be an increase in the quantity demanded only whenever there is a decrease in price. But the question is how much, how strongly. Just observe the absolute numbers at least here. How much price has dropped? Price has dropped by 100 rupees and quantity demanded increased by 50 radios. So for a 100 rupees drop in price, the quantity demanded has increased by 50 radios. That's what happened in the first case. And the product here is radio. You can replace that with LCD TVs, whatever the similar type of products, air conditioners, etc. Oh, can call them conspicuous necessities kind of category. So that is first category, where price decreased by 100 rupees and quantity demanded increased by 50 radios. Both are not amounts. Understand that carefully. Price is expressed as rupees, quantity is expressed as any product. In this case, this product is radios. That is first example. Second example, as a result of the fall in the price of wheat from 20 per kilogram to 18 rupees per kilogram, once again, naturally, the price of the commodity has reduced. Which commodity here? We are talking about wheat. Wheat is the commodity. Price reduced by how much? 2 rupees per kilogram. Quantity demanded increases from 500 kilograms to 520 kilograms. Once again, quantity demanded increased. If you observe the direction, there is no change. For a 100 rupees decrease in the price of radios, 50 radios demand has increased. For a 2 rupees decrease in the price of the wheat, there is a 20 kilograms of more wheat that is going to be purchased now. Means for 100 rupees decrease, there has been a change of 50 radios. Now for a 2 rupees decrease in the wheat, there is an increase in the quantity demanded of the wheat of 20 kilograms. Yes, price is always decreased, quantity demanded is always increased. The question once again comes, how much is that change in the quantity demanded happening as a result of change in price? Is that very strongly changing or is it weakly changing is the question. That is the second scenario, where definitely there is a little lesser correlation between the quantity demanded and price of a product. Why? Because wheat falls under necessity category. Necessity category generally, even though the price reduces, you cannot eat more than what you can eat. That's why the demand is more or less the same. Little bit increase is there. I'm not saying it is not there, but it is a very less increase. mostly it remained the same. The demand has remained the same. That is about necessities, and the relative increase in the quantity demanded here when compared with the decrease in price is not that much. Now look at another product, that is salt. This is a variety product. So salt, for example, imagine there is a fall in the price of 9 rupees per kilogram to 7.5 rupees per kilogram. Decrease in price is common here also. Price decreased by 1.5 rupees. Now look at that. The quantity demanded increases by only 5 kilograms. So from 1000 kilogram to 1005 kilograms, it has changed. So what happened here? In case of radios, for 100 rupees decrease in price, 50 radios new demand is created. In case of wheat, for a 2 rupees decrease per kilogram, 20 kilograms of additional demand for wheat has been created. But in case of salt, even though there is a 1.5 rupees of decrease in the price of the salt, still there is only just 5 kilograms of increase in the quantity demanded, which means irrespective of the price, people will buy the salt more or less the same quantities. So can we say that here, just for observation purposes, that salt has high elasticity of demand? Salt is highly responsive to the price? No, definitely not. Salt is not very highly responsive to the price. It has very low elasticity of demand. Whereas the radio has high elasticity of demand and wheat has almost less elasticity of demand. We can say there is elasticity of demand but little less elasticity of demand. When it comes to salt, it is as good as there is no elasticity of demand. So it's no much of increase in the quantity is happening due to a decrease in price when it comes to salt. So the point here to note is, though without going to the numbers as it is now itself, we can still understand from the general sentences and the essence of these three examples is different products behave differently and different products will have different elasticities of demand. And certain products will have high elasticity of demand like radios. Certain product will not have elasticity of demand at all, something like salt. Certain products will have elasticity of demand, though it is just relatively very lower elasticity of demand. So the point is, each product will not respond to the change in price same way. Radio responds very rapidly, wheat responds in a very mild manner, salt almost does not respond at all. 1000 kilos to 1005 kilos is not at all a big increase. So like this, three products will give us three different types of situations. But if you observe the direction, there is no difference at all. Direction is always the same. In all the cases, what is happening? The price is decreasing, quantity demanded is increasing. Price is decreasing, quantity demanded increasing. Same thing here also. Direction has not changed. But what has changed? Intensity has changed. Intensity has changed definitely. That means that intensity is what we call as elasticity of demand. So the elasticity of demand is nothing but the responsiveness of demand or quantity demanded in relation to a change in price. That's what we can call as elasticity of demand. That's what is given as a definition here. Generally speaking, elasticity of demand is the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to change in one of its variables on which the demand depends. So generally we don't use this elasticity of demand definition, but here we are talking about any variable can be considered as having an impact on the demand. So whatever the variable which is having an impact on the demand, how the demand is responsive to such variable is what is called as elasticity of demand. So simply speaking, elasticity of demand is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in one of the variables on which the demand depends. So we are talking about a generic definition of elasticity of demand. Are we talking about only price elasticity here? No. We are talking about any elasticity of demand, any particular variable. So one of the variables is the word used. So any one of the variables changes, naturally the demand also will change. Question is, how much that is changing? How is the responsiveness of the demand or quantity demanded is in accordance with a change in the variables, any one of them. Once again, what could be those? Any one of them means it could be price of the commodity, price of the related commodities, it could be advertisement expenditure, it could be income of the consumers. So all factors might have impact on the demand. If we can measure that impact or that responsiveness is what is called elasticity of demand. And simply in a mathematical way, if we want to express that, what is elasticity of demand is simply nothing but percentage change in quantity demanded. That is the numerator. Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in any one of the variables on which the demand depends. Of course, at a time we will take one variable only. That logic always you have to keep in mind. We are not going to have all the variables changed at the same time. That is not possible. So at a time, one variable will change. At a time, one variable only will be tested for the elasticity of demand. So whatever the percentage change in quantity demanded, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in any of the factors, we can change any of the factors, or we can call them generally as determinants of demand. So percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in determinants of the demand. That's what we can define as elasticity of demand. That's it. So that is general understanding, but yeah, we need to expand this in order to find out the mathematical expression of elasticity of demand, and of course we should be able to solve the questions also using this formula, right? So what is elasticity of demand is this percentage change in the quantity demanded divided by percentage change in any factor, any of the determinants of demand. But in general, what is the major aspect that will have a huge impact on the demand is price. So that is why, let us say, if nothing is mentioned, what is the elasticity of demand in general is price elasticity of demand only. So if nothing is mentioned, we have to use price elasticity of demand as if it is the elasticity of demand. If just general word is used, elasticity of demand, what does it indicate? It indicates price elasticity. If it is to be expressed as a separate elasticity, it has to be mentioned specifically. Income elasticity clearly to be mentioned, cross elasticity clearly to be mentioned, like that. Any other elasticity has to be clearly mentioned. If nothing is mentioned also, still we can understand whenever normally the word elasticity of demand is used, what does it mean is price elasticity of demand. Of course, the definition is still the same. What is the definition of price elasticity of demand? Like any other demand or like any other elasticity of demand, simply that is the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to a change in its price. In other words, the same formula can be applied here what we were discussing earlier. What is the formula for other any elasticity of demand is same. Price elasticity denominator will be related to price change. So price elasticity of demand, you can express it as EP, that is equal to percentage change in the quantity demanded whole divided by percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Now expand this. Percentage change in quantity demanded means what? Change in quantity divided by original quantity into 100. This numerator is what is representing percentage change in quantity demanded. That is a basic percentage calculation. Change by original. So change in quantity by original quantity into 100 gives us percentage change in quantity demanded. Same, a percentage change in price, how can it be calculated? By taking change in price by original price into 100. Of course 100 will get cancelled. Now take it to the upper side. So what happens when there is a fraction? When there is a fraction here in the denominator, it goes to the upper side, it will reverse. So it will inverse here. So change in quantity by original quantity is there as it is. The numerator is as it is. The denominator becomes inverse. So instead of change in price by original price, in the multiplication it becomes what? Original price by change in price. Now bring this two things into one particular area. Let us say change in quantity by change in price, original price divided by original quantity. Can we write like that also? Yeah, there is no problem. Change in quantity by change in price multiplied with original price by original quantity. That's what we can write, simply speaking. So this can be expressed like this. Change in quantity. Change in quantity, you can write it as delta. Delta Q. Q is quantity. Delta means change. So delta Q divided by, you can write it like delta P. Delta P means what? Change in price. Same thing. The change in quantity delta Q, change in price delta P multiplied with original price is P and original quantity is Q. So this is what is the formula that can be used for computation of elasticity of demand, of course price elasticity of demand, and that's what is mentioned here. This is the final formula. You don't need all this. This is for understanding purposes, but of course the concept has to be very clearly understood. How this has been derived here: percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, which measures the responsiveness of the numerator in accordance with the change in the denominator. Change in the denominator is what? That is percentage change in price. According to a percentage change in price, how much percentage change in quantity demanded happens? That's what is responsiveness, which is measured as price elasticity of demand. So after substituting the various items here, finally what is the formula? This you have to remember: delta Q by delta P into P by Q. Delta Q means change in quantity, delta P means change in price, P means original price, Q means original quantity, right? Now actually we can apply this formula for all the three examples that we have here. So let us apply this to the radio. Clear? Radio, let us apply this to this. Delta Q. So delta Q, what happened? So delta Q means change in the quantity. So quantity demanded increased from 100 to 150 means what is going to be the change in the quantity? Change in the quantity is going to be 50. Okay, that is delta Q divided by delta P. How much? Delta P means what? Change in the price. 500 to 400 price has reduced. So just for understanding purposes, price reduced means change in price is minus 100. Reduced, no? So minus 100 is the change in price into P. Originally is how much? That is the original price. Original price of the radio was 500. That is 500. And original quantity was 100. Original quantity of the radios sold was 100. So check that, that is original 100. That's it. So when you substitute the relevant denotions and calculate this, what is the price elasticity of demand here? How much is that? That is 2.5. Do the calculation. Don't just watch it. 2.5 is the price elasticity demand of radio. But understand another point here. This is minus 2.5 because this denominator is minus. However, this minus is always going to be there. So price elasticity of demand, whenever we calculate, this minus is always going to be there. Why is that? Always understand this also very carefully. For two things, the reason is common. Why the demand curve is sloping downwards? Why the elasticity of demand is always negative? Why? For both of them, the reason is same. What is that? Because the price and quantity demanded are inversely related. So if the numerator, what is that we are talking about here? Delta Q by delta P. See, P and Q can never be negative. Is it possible? Understand it mathematically. Can price be negative? Is it possible? Just impossible. Can price be zero? It doesn't make sense. So price cannot be zero, quantity cannot be zero, they cannot be negative also. So P, Q are definitely going to be always positive. There is no option. No option at all. So forget about this part. Coming to delta Q, delta P. Okay, now if delta P is negative, means what? P is reducing, price is reducing, then automatically Q will be positive, no? Automatically Q will be positive because when the price is reducing, the quantity will increase. So if delta P is negative, delta Q is bound to be positive. That is what is law of demand. When the price is reducing, quantity demanded is increasing. On the other side, of course not in this example, let us take another example. If at all the price is increasing, if let us say delta P is positive, then delta Q will be negative. Why is that? These two are inversely related. So when they are inversely related, if the denominator is negative, the numerator is bound to be positive. If the denominator is positive, the numerator is bound to be negative. That means definitely one of them has to be negative. When you have everything like this, these two are always positive. Here one of them is negative. Automatically the answer is always negative. Of course, always does not mean there are no exceptions. Exceptions to the law of demand are there. In those cases, this theory will not work. But normally, wherever the law of demand works, wherever the theory of demand works, the elasticity of demand is bound to be negative only. However, we generally don't consider that negative sign, we just express it as quantity because the direction is not our interest here. Our interest is magnitude. Our interest is the responsiveness, the quantum of change that happens in the quantity demanded in response to a change in the price is what is our interest. So minus is inevitable, the point is. So that does not mean it is not there, it will be there. But when we generally say price elasticity of demand is 5, it actually means minus 5. So we don't worry about that. So the point once again, always to keep that in mind is we don't need to worry about the sign here. The sign is bound to be negative. That is why we always take the absolute value of the price elasticity only. We will take absolute value of price elasticity only. That is the only thing that we are going to take, not the negative. So when we say here, instead of taking minus 2.5, whenever we express that, how much is elasticity of demand of radio? If somebody asks, our answer will be 2.5. But what is in our mind, we know that already that it is actually minus 2.5, but we don't care about that. That's what is about radios. That is the first product that we talked about as an example in the earlier scene. Now let us take wheat. Wheat is the second product. In the case of second product, the example is given here, whatever that is. What happened here? The change in price is 2 rupees per kilogram. Quantity demanded changed by 20 kilograms. Whatever it is, you have to just substitute. What is the change in the quantity demanded? Is there any increase in the quantity demanded or not? Of course, sir. Yes, there is. How much? 20 kilos demand increased or quantity demanded increased. How much change in price happened? 2 rupees happened. So 2 rupees has increased or decreased? 2 rupees decreased. So minus 2. Just for understanding purposes. From 20 to 18 means change in price is minus 2. Change in quantity demanded is from 500 to 520. So that is going to be 20 positive. Now multiply with P by Q. So original P how much? Original price how much for wheat? Original price was 20. Original quantity was 500. So 20 divided by original price was 20 divided by 500. That is P by Q. That's what we already have, P by Q. So P, Q already given. So when this is the case, what is the value here? Calculate that once again. 20 divided by 2 into 20 divided by 500. That comes to around 0.4. Of course, minus. Always minus. We don't have to separately worry about it. But just for calculation and showing purposes, we are writing it as 0.4 minus. Which means we have to just express it as 0.4. So once again, the question comes here, which of these two things is more elastic? Definitely the radio is more elastic than wheat. Wheat is less elastic. Why? Because the elasticity of demand is very less compared to that of radio. Radio elasticity of demand is 2.5. Wheat elasticity of demand, price elasticity naturally is 0.4. Then we have salt. Salt is a variety situation here. Again, you can just substitute the same thing. So salt, what happened? Change in price is 1.5 rupees. Change in quantity demanded is only 5 kilograms. So change in quantity demanded is only 5 kilograms. That is 5 in the numerator. Okay. Divided by change in price is, just for once again understanding, I am writing minus 1.5 minus 1.5, that is the minus 1.5 is the change in price from 9 rupees to, isn't it, 9 rupees to 7.5 rupees into, okay, once again into, what was the original price? Original price was 9 rupees, okay. Original quantity demanded was too much, Q, that was how much? 1000 kgs of salt was demanded at that price of 9 rupees. So once again, do the math, do the calculation. 5 divided by 1.5 into 9 divided by 1000. Do it on the calculator, maybe you can do that. So approximately it comes to, once again, minus of course, but that minus may not be that relevant, but 0.03 we can say, 0.03. Of course, that without the sign will become 0.03 positive. Why positive? It is not actually positive, it is actually negative only. But we just don't worry about the sign, because we know that very well. Always the elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand is bound to be negative only, keeping the exceptions apart. Normally, wherever the law of demand is applicable, always the price elasticity of demand is bound to be negative only. Why? Because if price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. If the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. So in this delta Q by delta P, if one is negative, other is bound to be positive. So naturally, this final answer is bound to be negative. That is why don't worry about the sign, don't worry about the direction. Direction is already known. Only worry about the quantum of that change that is happening, or the magnitude of the change that is happening. That's what this is. So what can we conclude from this? What can we understand from this price elasticity of demand calculation? When it comes to the radios, that is highly elastic, because 2.5 is the price elasticity of demand. Where it comes to the wheat, it is relatively less elastic, that is only 0.4 is the price elasticity of demand. When it comes to salt as a product, it is as good as inelastic, 0.03 is equal to 0, means not much elastic at all. That means even though there is a reasonable percentage change in the price, the quantity demanded of the salt does not change much. It will change. Nobody is saying it will not change, but that is negligible change, as good as no change. So it is a highly price sensitive or price elastic product, that is radio. It is relatively elastic, and this is inelastic, we can say, right? So one way we can say this is relatively elastic, almost more or less the same, there is no much of that, and this is less elastic product. So better to understand them with the correct words rather than symbols. So what is this meaning about? First of all, radio is highly price elastic, wheat is relatively inelastic. It is not completely inelastic, but relatively inelastic, whereas, or less elastic you can call it, wheat is less elastic, and salt is relatively inelastic, almost it is inelastic only. That's what is price elasticity. Absolute values only we have to think. So this is there is a strong correlation here between price and quantity demanded. There is a little weak correlation here. There is further weak correlation here between price and quantity demanded. That's what is depicted by the price elasticity calculations. Like this, any number of examples you can do. Ultimately, we can solve the examples with the same formula. So what is the formula you have to always remember? Delta Q by delta P into P by Q, right? Observe that in this example illustration 1. Look at this, the price of the commodity decreases from 6 to 4, quantity demanded increases from 10 to 5. Okay, delta Q first of all is, delta Q is 5, right? Because change in quantity is 10 to 15, so 5 delta Q. Then delta P is minus 2, I'm just ignoring that, because you know that it is going to be like that only always, so just don't worry about minus, but it is actually minus 2, so that is delta P. So delta Q is 5, delta P is 2, into original price P, that is 6, original quantity, that is Q, P by Q. Q how much originally? That was 10. So that's it. If you do this calculation on the calculators or otherwise, how much will that be? 5 divided by 2 into 6 divided by 10. That will be equal to 1.5. Naturally, negative it should be, but we don't care about it. But the elasticity of demand is this 1.5. That is price elasticity of this product, where the price reduced from 6 to 4, but quantity demanded increased from 10 to 15. That means the price elasticity is 1.5, right? In the options, if there is 1.5 and minus 1.5, then minus 1.5 is correct. If in the options 1.5 is there other numbers are there, then you cannot say this answer is wrong because minus is not there. That kind of, you cannot blame the options. Whatever the options are there, within that you have to choose the best option. So it is a normal practice when the price elasticity of demand is not matched with the sign. Sometimes only the absolute value of the price elasticity, like in this case 1.5, only will be considered without actually really worrying about whether it is minus or plus. It is always minus. When it is something always universally minus, normally minus, you don't need to every time mention minus 1.5, minus 1.5. So don't worry about the sign under normal circumstances. What if both options are given, sir? In the four options, 1.5 is also there, minus 1.5. Of course, minus 1.5 is the correct option. Why? Because price elasticity is negative. Of course, also you have to understand price elasticity is negative where? Price elasticity is negative only to those circumstances where the law of demand is applicable. We discussed about certain exceptions to the law of demand, something like conspicuous goods, something like given goods. Those cases, the law of demand may not be applicable. In those cases, this may or may not be negative, not necessarily be this is negative. So don't think that negative means always, every time, infinitely, universally, always it is the truth. No. In general, yes. In general, the elasticity of demand is bound to be negative, since the reason we know, when one is increasing here in the delta P or delta Q, particularly P, when P is increasing, automatically Q has to decrease. When P is decreasing, automatically Q has to increase. That's what law of demand is all about. Wherever the law of demand is applicable, automatically the price elasticity is bound to be negative. So don't worry once again about the sign unless it is clearly given in the answers. That is the first illustration, and you have to understand this logics very carefully. Then only answering will be correct. See, lot of times, once again, it so happens that people know the things, but they will answer the questions wrongly. I don't understand why that happens, but mostly it happens because of negligence, because of just taking each and everything light, just substituting something, getting some answer, finding it in the options, just opting it as if it is the correct option, is a very careless attitude, I would say, which will result in the loss of marks. If you are really focused on the question, reading it carefully, observing the options carefully, then naturally the answers will never go wrong. So it is not just the knowledge, other mostly the psychological factors of how much focus we can do on the actual questions and how much we can recollect over the concepts. Those things also matter in scoring well in any exam, particularly when we talk about economics, that matters a lot. Now look at the illustration 2. A 5% fall in the price of a good leads to a 15% rise in the demands. Of course, this is fall, this is clear, and this is rise. This is also clear. So that's fine. That is the direction which we already know. That means it is following the law of demand. Nothing great about it. But what we need to determine is the elasticity of this demand, and comment on the value and all. You cannot get it in the exam, but just for understanding, you should be able to know what does this elasticity of demand really depict. Same formula is same. What is the percentage change in the quantity demanded? How much is the percentage change in the quantity demanded? Numerator, that is 15%. Percentage change in price, how much is that? 5%. So naturally 15% divided by 5% is 3. So the elasticity of demand, finally the answer is 3. So what we can say, that is a having elastic demand. It is highly elastic product. That's it. That is a comment. So if it is positive, definitely it is going to be considered as a highly elastic product. If it is more than 1, definitely it is highly elastic. If it is, let us say, equal to 1, it is unitary elastic. If it is less than 1, it is relatively less elastic. So if it is near to 0, almost it is inelastic, we can say. So here 2.5, very elastic. 0.4, relatively less elastic. 0.03, as good as inelastic. Same way here, when you have this 1.5, yes, it is relatively elastic. Here also 3, elasticity of demand means elastic demand. So anything more than 1, the interpretation is different. Anything less than 1, the interpretation is different. Anything 0 or less than that, that is going to have a different interpretation for the demand. Of course, if the elasticity of demand is negative, in the sense elasticity of demand, if at all it is going negative to the negative, that itself, negative word itself is wrong here, because already it is always negative. It is already less than that. So don't say that less than 1 means we are talking, less than 0 means we are talking about negative here. So it is always negative. So whether it is this 2.5, 0.4 and all. So you don't worry about this sign here. Only what we are looking at, is the absolute value of them. If this is more than 1, it is a different story. If it is 1, it is a different story. It is less than 1, it is a different story. We will come to that interpretation of elasticity of demand. But main point now is to calculate the elasticity of demand. So here what we calculated, 3 different things we calculated earlier, 2.5, 0.4 and 0.03. Here it was 1.5 and now elasticity of demand is 3. That's it. Now look at another illustration, illustration number 3. The price of a good decreases from 100 to 60. That means delta P is 40. Delta P is 40. If the price elasticity of demand is 1.5, so look at this here, 1.5 price elasticity of demand is already given. So when 1.5 price elasticity of demand is already given, you need to substitute in the formula. And the original quantity demanded is 30. Calculate the new quantity demanded. So here, substitute in the same formula. Same formula is what? Delta Q by delta P into P by Q. Delta Q do we know? That's what we want. We don't know that. So delta Q we don't know that. That's what we really want to calculate. That's what is asked also. But not delta Q. The new quantity demanded is what is asked. So delta Q is what we don't really know. But delta P we know definitely yes, because price has been reduced from 100 to 60, means that is denominator 40. Same way P do we know? Price, original price of course yes, that is 100, that is known already. Do we know the original quantity? Original quantity demanded is 30, that is given already. So Q is also known. So everything is there. All that you need to do is solve this for delta Q. How much is going to be that? Just to do cross multiplication. In other words, what we can do, 1.5 into 40 into 30 divided by 100. So that is how much? 18. So delta Q is 18. Cross multiplication. If you do, delta Q is 18. But this is not the answer. Answer is not 18. What is the question? Calculate the new quantity demanded, he is asking. New quantity is asking. Delta Q is not new quantity. That is change in quantity. So original quantity was how much? 30. When original quantity is 30, change in quantity is 18. Now we have to understand, is the change going to happen in a minus way or plus way to the quantity? That depends upon the price. Price decreased or increased? Price has decreased from 100 to 60. Price decreased means what happens to the demand or quantity demanded increases. So 30 becomes what now? That becomes plus 18, that is 48. That is the new quantity that is demanded. When elasticity of demand is given and other data related to the original price and original quantity demanded, change in price is given, other thing can be found out. So simple logic here. Not only here, actually, for that matter, any particular formula, whatever the formula you use, right from foundation level to final level, whatever the formula you use. So here there will be n number of variables in any formula, and the data in relation, the question will be given, it has to be given related to n minus 1 number of variables, and that one variable, whatever it is not there, that is what you should find out. It's a simple reason. So look at this for a particular example here. Let us say the elasticity or price elasticity of demand. Here there are how many variables? How many points are there in this? So now first of all we have elasticity of demand that we are calculating. This is 1, this is 1, and that is equal to, we have the formula here, delta Q, that is 1, divided by delta P, that is another 1, into P is another 1, Q is another 1. Don't say into is also another 1, that is only a multiplication symbol. So how many variables are there here? Total 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So in these 5, 4 will be given. They have to be given, no option. Fifth one we have to find out. Always it will be like that only. 4 will be definitely given in any question if you say. Like if in this question, what are all given? 100 is given, 60 is given, 1.5 is given, 30 is given. Enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of 5, 4 are given. You can find out the other one. That in this particular case is delta Q. Like this formula, any formula if you observe, there will be n number of variables, whatever that n may be. Data in the question will be given about n minus 1 number of variables, and what you have to find out is that missing variable is what about? That new thing that we have to calculate. That missing variable is what we have to calculate. Whatever it could be. Don't expect that missing variable will be only on the left hand side. It could be any of them. In this 5, any 4 given, the fifth one you should be able to find out. That is my point. Any 4 can be given in this. Any 4. In general, if these 4 are given, we can find out elasticity of demand. If elasticity is given and out of these 4 any 3 are given, we can find out the other one. So any 4 out of these 5 is enough to be there in the question. Don't expect the same question. Any question can be asked in this. These questions can be framed in whatever the way they want. And ultimately, our job is to find out that missing variable in the question. Clear? That is how we calculate the elasticity of demand. Basically, that is by using the formula percentage of change in quantity demanded divided by percentage of change in price. That is the formula we are talking about. If you expand that, ultimately what it is coming out to be delta Q divided by delta P into P divided by Q. That's what is elasticity of demand, normally by using the formula. Clear? That is called in a regular way the elasticity of demand, normally how we calculate. Now let us move on to another scenario or situation. We can call this another method of calculating the elasticity, that is called point elasticity of demand. Point elasticity. See, point elasticity generally is measured, as the name indicates, at a given point on the demand curve. So this will be used in general as in a cases where there is a demand curve which is a straight line, and at a particular point we want to find out what is the point elasticity of demand at that point, at that particular point on the demand curve. So how to do that? In fact, we need to use derivatives, which are mathematical tools or techniques, we can say, which we are not going to use. All that you need to do is remember this, that's all. Remember this, but nothing new here actually. What is this here? Instead of delta Q delta P, here you use dou Q by dou P, that's all. So dou Q by dou P or dQ by dP, whatever the way you are used to. So dQ by dP into P divided by Q. That's what is elasticity of demand, that is price elasticity. Is there any difference here? Nothing. Instead of delta, that is change, here we are using a derivative. So what is this dou Q by dou P or dQ by dP? That is the derivative of the quantity with respect to the price at a point on the demand curve. P and Q are the price and quantity at that point. So at any particular point, P means price, we know that. Q means quantity, we know that. That is going to be the same. And what is going to be the dQ by dP? That is the derivative of the quantity with respect to the price at a particular point on the demand curve. So once again, in a simple way, what we can understand is if you draw a graph, a normal graph like this, where the demand curve is drawn, which is naturally going downwards from left to right. Here we are talking about a point, that is R. At this point, what is the demand? That is what the point elasticity wants to find out at that particular point. And what is P? That is the price at this particular point. That is P. What is Q? That is a quantity at this particular point. That is okay. That is P by Q. But what is dou Q by dou P? That is where the issue comes. And that is what is nothing but, that is the reciprocal of the slope of the demand curve. That is a point we have to understand. So these are the points here. P and Q are the price and quantity at that point. Point elasticity is what? The product of price quantity ratio at a particular point on the demand curve and the reciprocal of the slope of the demand line. So what is the slope of the demand line is dP by dQ. Reciprocal of the slope of the demand line is dQ by dP. And that reciprocal of the slope of the demand line multiplied with price quantity ratio P by Q is what is point elasticity. Once again, applying derivatives like calculus, integration and all are not part of our general understanding and application of economic principles. That is why we don't need to really apply this formula for calculations. However, if this is given already, dQ by dP is given in the question, then you should be able to substitute in the formula. You are not going to use calculus, but if it is dQ by dP given in the question, substitute that. P and Q are numbers, dQ by dP is given, substitute that, you get the elasticity of demand. That is not an issue that we should be able to do. However, how much is dQ by dP, how to derive that, how to actually calculate that, that is not our subject matter. We are not going to discuss that, not necessary for this paper, because we don't have any of the mathematical application of economics or econometrics and all these things. We don't need to use them. But on the other side, if it is given in the question dq by dp, which will be done generally, just substitute that into P by Q, you get elasticity of demand. That is called price elasticity, which is a point elasticity of demand. At a particular point, this can be calculated like this. However, in general, the point elasticity is calculated in a much simpler way, like this. That is lower segment divided by upper segment. What is lower segment? If this is the point, what is the lower segment? This is the lower segment. This is the lower segment. What is the upper segment? This is the upper segment. So whatever the length of the lower segment is, that divided by upper segment, that's what we can call as point elasticity of demand at a particular point. That is the best formula, and actually this is what is going to be more useful in the examinations. Of course, there are questions on dq by dp also, where it will be given dq by dp, p will be given, q will be given. You just need to substitute in the formula and get the answer. That also will come, but most importantly than that is this point elasticity can be found out by using the formula lower segment divided by upper segment. So if at all we have any point, at any point of this the demand curve, we want to find out the point elasticity, we have to find out by taking lower segment divided by upper segment. So let us just for understanding purposes take this as an example. Say this is A, this is B, at which point we are calculating this point elasticity, and this is C. So naturally, what is going to be the elasticity of demand? How can you calculate that? Lower segment. Lower segment is what? Lower segment is BC divided by upper segment is what? AB. That's what is point elasticity of demand. Simply at any point of time, the logic is same. Always it is lower segment divided by upper segment only, right? That is point elasticity of demand. But now this is a very important graph. This is what you should be very clearly remembering also, because questions will come from this also. But it is logically understandable, very simple point. For example, at this graph where there is a kind of demand curve which is drawn at different points on this particular demand line or demand curve, how the price elasticity will be, that can be understood very easily. So now look at this particular graph we are talking about. T is the point we are talking about. T is the point we are talking about. So what is the lower segment value here? What is the lower segment? T to T is how much? 0 only. Upper segment is bigger. Upper segment is small t to big T, right? So in this case, at a point T, elasticity will be how much? Lower segment is 0. 0 divided by anything is 0. So elasticity of demand at this point of capital T is equal to 0. Then what about this point? That is L. L into capital T, L to small t. This is easier to take if we take any other word here rather than small t. Unnecessarily this cannot be taken. Let us take this as Q, let us say. That is easy. Now here in the first case, Tt by Tq. Tt is 0 because anything distance from T to T will be 0. Tq is having some positive number, but 0 by anything is 0. That is why elasticity of demand here is 0. Now looking at here, Lt by Ql. Lt is smaller or bigger than Ql? You can easily see that. Lt is smaller, Ql is longer. So numerator is smaller, denominator is longer. When the numerator is smaller, denominator is longer, the resultant is going to be what? Definitely less than 1. That is why the elasticity of demand at this point L is going to be less than 1. Then what about R? This is the next point. R. RT by QR. But if you observe, the distance between R and T and distance between Q and R is same. So RT is equal to QR. Then RT by QR will be equal to 1. When numerator and denominator both are same, then definitely what is the resultant? That is going to be 1. Then the next point is S. Once again, same way, lower segment by upper segment. Lower segment is what? ST by QS. Upper segment is QS. Now lower segment is longer, no? So lower segment is bigger, upper segment is smaller. So numerator is bigger, denominator is smaller. So naturally the resultant will be greater than 1. So E is equal to, here definitely going to be more than 1 at the point S. So at the point T it is 0, at the point L it is less than 1, but more than 0. But at point R E is equal to 1, at point S E is more than 1, and at point Q, or whatever we have taken already, at that point E is infinite. Why infinite? Because upper segment is 0, and when you have upper segment 0 which is in the denominator, anything divided by 0 is not definable. That's why in that case, when the demand curve touches the y-axis, if the demand curve touches the y-axis, the point elasticity of demand will be infinite. So there can be questions from this anyway. What will be the point elasticity of demand if the demand curve touches x-axis? At that point, what is the elasticity of demand? Sir, it is 0. That is point T. What is the elasticity of demand? Point elasticity, naturally. Price elasticity, which is measured by way of taking a point on the demand curve. So point elasticity. So what is the point elasticity of demand when the demand curve touches y-axis? At that point, what is the elasticity of demand? So the answer is infinity. So these two things are to be very clearly remembered. These two can be the questions. When the point elasticity is going to be 0, when the point elasticity is going to be infinity. You have to be absolutely very clear about these two things. 0 when the price or the demand curve touches the x-axis. When the demand curve touches the y-axis, then the price elasticity or point elasticity will be infinite. In between, how it will be? How to measure that, sir? Not a rocket science. Simple. Always the same logic. Lower segment by upper segment. What if lower segment is smaller, upper segment is bigger? Naturally, it will be, answer will be less than 1. Sir, what if both are equal? Then naturally the answer will be equal to 1. And what is the answer we are talking? Elasticity of demand. What if the lower segment is bigger, upper segment is smaller? Then naturally the answer will be more than 1. So these are the only possibilities other than 0 and infinity. These three possibilities are there. 0 happens when the demand curve touches x-axis. Infinity happens when the demand curve touches y-axis. Those two have to be separately remembered. These three are separately to be remembered because these three are from the formula that we have. What are those things? Less than 1, equal to 1, or greater than 1. When that happens, that is just straight away from the formula. If lower segment is smaller, upper segment is bigger, numerator smaller means denominator bigger means the answer will be less than 1. Both are equal means price elasticity will be equal to 1. If lower segment is bigger, means the numerator is bigger, denominator is smaller, then the answer will be more than 1. These are the total 5 possibilities. 5 different questions can be always asked from this. That is the point elasticity of demand. So we should be able to calculate the elasticity of demand not only just by calculating or using the formula, by taking percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, or by taking the formula directly by taking delta Q by delta P into P by Q. That is also possible. Questions can be asked on that. Also, we should be able to calculate using point elasticity method. If it is using a graphical method, lower segment divided by upper segment is the formula we should use. If it is using derivatives, mathematical method, then dou Q by dou P into P by Q is the formula we should use. Of course, dou Q by dou P will be given in the question. P and Q also will be given in the question. All that you need to find out elasticity of demand is by substituting them and obtaining the answer. That is about point elasticity of demand. Clear? That is one more type of calculation for the elasticity of demand. Now there is one more thing that is called arc elasticity of demand. Actually, this is what we are going to calculate if nothing is asked in the question. When nothing is asked in the question, should we use this formula or something else? Derivatives anyway we cannot use. So are we going to use this formula or not? All these doubts should not be there. If the data is given in the question, if there is a details given about original price and change in price and original quantity and change in quantity, if those details are there, automatically we have to use arc elasticity. We'll understand why is it better than the original formula now. But before that, let us understand certain situations where the arc elasticity can be applied in a better way. See, when the change here is very small or negligible, particularly in those cases, the point elasticity will be difficult to be identified, because if you just observe, normally speaking, First of all, the demand curve being a straight line itself is not possible. It will be generally a curved line. But in the point elasticity, what we drew, it was a straight line. That itself is one of the limitations of that. Okay, keeping that apart, even if it is a curved line also, how to measure the distance between two things? Lower segment, upper segment, we can only measure when if it is a straight line. If it is a curved line, how can we do that? We cannot do that. So again, a problem comes by using point elasticity. We cannot find out the price elasticity of demand. So there is no option for us but to go for calculation of arc elasticity of demand, which will measure the distance between the 2 points on a demand curve. Though there is no straight line, it will measure. How it will do that? Particularly when there are 2 points here, between those 2 points, how the elasticity can be measured is the question. So let us say here there is point A and point B. Between these 2 points, how much distance is there? That can be measured by taking this formula. That is what is arc elasticity of demand. And we have multiple things also you have to understand. At A point, what are all there? There is price P1 and quantity Q1. And at B point, what are there? Price P2, quantity Q2. So there are 4 things definitely here. There is P1 and there is Q1. That is original situation, let us say. And price changed from P1 to P2. In this example, what happened? P1 to P2 means decreased. So quantity demanded increased from Q1 to Q2. This is what happened. So how to calculate the elasticity of demand here? See, normally there is nothing new. Actually speaking, arc elasticity is not something that is separately coming out. But if you remember the original formula, from that only we can understand the arc elasticity also very easily. So what was the original formula? Original formula, if you just remember, what was that? Delta Q divided by delta P into P by Q, isn't it? That is the original formula. But what is delta Q? Delta Q is nothing but, can we say Q2 minus Q1? Is it not delta Q? Is it not delta Q? Q2 minus Q1 or Q1 minus Q2? Either way it's okay. Ultimately it is going to be same. So if you are taking only one directional, anyway it is okay. So let us take Q1 minus Q2. That is a change in the quantity. Q1 minus Q2. That is delta Q, right? Then what is delta P? Change in the price. That is nothing but P1 minus P2, isn't it? So when we used this delta Q by delta P, we already used this. There is nothing different that we are using. Same thing is coming out, just the way we are denoting is changing. Delta Q and Q1 minus Q2 both are same. Difference between Q1 and Q2 is what is delta Q. Difference between P1 and P2 is what is delta P. So delta Q by delta P, Q1 minus Q2 by P1 minus P2, both are same. There is no difference between them at all. The difference between a normal calculation, what we did earlier and now, is only coming with P and Q. Earlier we have taken the original price P and original quantity Q. Now what we will take is, instead of taking original price, we will take average of that price, which is better, right? Instead of taking original price, if you take P1 plus P2 by 2, just for remembering and general understanding purposes. P1 plus P2 by 2 and Q1 plus Q2 by 2. You might wonder what happened to 2. Well, that 2 will cancel, right? When that is there in both places, numerator also, denominator also, it gets cancelled. So when it gets cancelled, ultimately what will remember? What will remain? What will remain is P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. So the only difference between the earlier formula that we used and now using arc elasticity is only about, instead of taking P and Q, we take P1 plus P2, Q1 plus Q2. That's all. So what is the final formula? Easiest formula. Don't worry about this. Just if you remember one formula, that is easier. You don't have to remember 100 different formulae. So delta Q by delta P is nothing but Q1 minus Q2 by P1 minus P2 multiplied with P1 plus P2 by Q1 plus Q2. Okay. Here it is probably given in a different way. So this is what is given. Q1 minus Q2 by P1 minus P2. That's what you should better take here. That is easier to remember. Delta Q by delta P. Same thing. Q1 minus Q2 by P1 minus P2. So instead of P by Q, what are you taking here? P1 plus P2 by Q1 plus Q2. So this and this cross we are going to multiply. Ultimately both are same, because when it is multiplication and division, all of them are going to be same. So this is the easier way to remember arc elasticity of demand. Arc elasticity is a very important aspect, and questions will be definitely there in the examination to calculate this. All that you need to do is substitute from the information that is available, but you have to substitute carefully in the correct way. Q1 is the original quantity, Q2 is the new quantity. P1 is the original price, P2 is the new price. Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2 multiplied with P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2 is the formula for arc elasticity of demand. This has been derived only from this original formula, nothing new. Only difference is this P by Q instead of P by Q, we are taking P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2, because only to average the prices and quantities rather than taking original prices and original quantities. That's what will be the arc elasticity of demand calculation, right? Now we let us calculate the arc elasticity of demand. Earlier what we calculated for radios was normal elasticity of demand. Earlier we did that already. How much was that? 1.5. Is it? No. Here, yeah, it was 2.5. Normal elasticity of demand for radios we have calculated. So the data is available here for radios. How change happened here. So original price P1 was 500, P2 was 400, Q1 was 100, Q2 was 150. So first I would suggest always identify the correct data from the question. Don't jump to substitute, don't jump to write them. Identify the correct data. That is what is to be done first. So P1 was 500, P2 is 400, Q1 is 100, Q2 is 150. Then substitute. Then substitute in whatever formula you know. This formula is better. Q1 minus Q2. Q1 is 100. Okay, substitute that. Q1 minus Q2. Q2 is 150. Okay, divided by P1 minus P2. P1 minus P2, 500 minus 400, that is 100. I'm just writing directly. Multiplied with P1 plus P2. P1 plus P2 will be 900. 400 plus 400 plus 500, that is 900. So Q1 plus Q2 is 250. That is easy. That's all. Do the calculation. Do the calculation and then find out how much is the arc elasticity of demand. Need to do this. So 100 minus 150 is how much? Of course it will be minus 50. Forget about minus. Just difference is how much? Q1 minus Q2. Change in quantity is basically 50. So 50 by 100 into 900 by 250. Do it on calculator. Then you will get arc elasticity of 1.8. That is the answer. Arc elasticity of demand 1.8. But earlier when we calculated, we got 2.5. So there will be difference if you use original P by Q and P1 plus P2 by Q1 plus Q2. That is always a question. In the normal examination situations, should we use P1 plus P2 by Q1 plus Q2 or just P by Q? If nothing is clearly mentioned or asked, always use the arc elasticity formula only. Don't use this formula normally. If it is asked particularly to use this, then only use this. Otherwise, don't use this formula. Always use arc elasticity formula, which is nothing but Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2 multiplied with P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. That is called arc elasticity of demand. Like this, different ways are there for computing the price elasticity of demand itself, as we have already understood. Directly one formula, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. That is the best formula, the first formula that can be used. Or simply speaking, delta Q by delta P into P by Q. That is the first type of formula which can be used for calculating the elasticity of demand. Possibility is there. I'm not telling you to use that in every question. Possibility of using that formula might be there according to the question. So that is first category. Second category, dou Q by dou P into P by Q. In that also derivatives we cannot do. So the dou Q by dou P will be given. Then we can use that for substituting in that formula and finding out point elasticity of demand. But point elasticity can also be calculated by using graphical method, in which we have to take lower segment divided by upper segment as the formula for computation of elasticity of demand. And there are 5 possibilities on the demand curve for point elasticity of demand, which is a straight line demand curve. In case of arc elasticity, since it is not a straight line demand curve, there are 2 points between which we need to find out the elasticity of demand, not at one point. In case of point elasticity, we are finding out the elasticity of demand at one point. In case of arc elasticity, we are not finding at one point, we are finding the elasticity of demand between these 2 points, which cannot be done only graphically, so which can be done by using this formula. That can be done by which formula? Q1 minus Q2 divided by P1 minus P2 into P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. All these formula you need to write number of times. Ideally, practice them, these questions number of times, and you should be able to do these questions very comfortably. Any question should be approached and we should be able to solve them very, very comfortably without any question marks, without any doubts, or without any confusion. Everything will be given in the question. All that we need to do is a perfect formula has to be chosen, and we have to find out the denotions very correctly. People will generally miss these things. They will take P as Q and Q as P. Naturally, answer will be wrong. So then we cannot cry marks are not coming. Marks will not come when we do wrong solutions. So the point is you have to take the data very correctly from the question, substitute it in the correct formula, and then calculation also has to be done accurately in the calculator to get the correct answer. Then the full marks will come. Definite questions can be expected from computation of elasticity of demand in the examination. There is no doubt about it. Okay, with that we can conclude the elasticity of demand computational aspect, and in the next class we will continue the discussion on how the elasticity of demand can be interpreted, and there is another way of computing the elasticity of demand also, and what factors will actually matter, or what factors will contribute to the price elasticity of demand. Determinants of price elasticity of demand, for example, will be discussed in the next session. And till that time, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.